All right. Welcome. You're listening to the Green Bean Podcast with Adrian Green and
J.R. McKnight.
And our guest for today,
Mike Tarpley.
Mike Tarpley. That's what it sounded like on here.
Mike on the mic.
Yeah. Feel free to lean in a little bit. Yeah.
Like a campfire.
Man, how long are we going to do this leaning in?
Just when you talk.
So I can go.
Yep.
That's pretty much what we all do.
That's like a pump jack.
Yeah. That's what I hear. All right. So for anybody who doesn't know, Mr. Mike Tarpley is Senior Vice Commander of the DAV, which is the Disabled American Veterans here in Big Spring, Chapter 47.
You got it.
All right.
Nice.
Sometimes I get confused, but I got it today. You're also a veteran, Vietnam War veteran.
Correct.
And a Purple Heart recipient.
Two-time
Purple Heart recipient. And also had a very extensive career in the oil field.
Yes, ma'am.
As well as do a lot of volunteer work with the VA and veterans in general.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
All right.
And all that oil field work, I got paid big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And volunteer pays nothing, but it's more rewarding.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about today. So I feel like a lot of people do not realize that there is even a Disabled American chapter here at all. Like they don't know anything about the DAV too much. And it's something that I've been trying to help cover just so that way people are more aware of it. Because I feel like once they know what y'all do, it's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you support that? So,
and we do appreciate the fact that you are there supporting us.
Well, you're welcome. So tell us about the DAV and how you came to be involved with that.
Probably 16, 17 years ago, I decided that I'd get involved with something. And so the DAV was where I went because I am a disabled veteran. And I saw what they were doing. And at that point in time, the DAV was struggling. They just had very little funds, couldn't do much around the community. And I'm very proud of the last 15 years that we have come a long ways, and we have a lot of people in our community. And that's all because of community support, because we don't have any money. We just have what is donated through the community. And of course we help. That just doesn't take funds, is we help veterans that need help with their disabilities. We help them file claims with the DAV, or through the DAV, to the VA. And we used to have a program here where DAV furnished vehicles and drivers to people back to appointments, but and that was all free of charge. But the Veterans Administration stepped in and they put their own people in place. But we help pay rent, utilities. We help put on roofs. Car repairs, and of course at Christmas time and Thanksgiving we feed a lot of meals to veterans.
That's awesome.
They take them outside of the VA if possible. Of course, with COVID, we hadn't been able to get them out like we used to. And we started a couple of years ago at the state vet home here. We cook 125 ribeyes at Christmas time. And we asked them again this year what they wanted for Christmas, and they said same thing as last year, another bunch of ribeyes. So we've got that on the schedule. And we have at Christmas time, we've got with the VA, and through their social work program, families that need help, and we make sure they get some money in their stocking every year. And along with guys at the DOM and the CLC, they'll get gifts from the DAV, and most places give them some kind of gift, but we do it monetarily. And we'd like to do it in gift cards. It's the VA because they can go online then and do their shopping and have it delivered. Mm-hmm. And have a way to pay for it.
That's awesome.
And what is the DOM and the CLC?
A CLC is Community Living Center within the VA. And that's people that are rehabbing or people that have got a point in their life where they have to have specialized care, so they actually live there in the VA.
Mm-hmm.
The domiciliary is veterans that have issues with drug, alcohol, and our VA doesn't really help with PTSD, but myself and Danny Martinez, he's our adjutant at the DAV. We facilitate a PTSD group weekly, and I'm real proud of the success we had of that. And one of the things we always try to tell them is don't go back where you came from, because Satan will be knocking on your door.
Mm-hmm.
They know that you got a payday coming from the VA or whatever. So we've had several veterans that have stayed in Big Spring and become successful.
That's really awesome.
That's great to hear. So how long have you been running the PTSD support group?
14 years.
Wow.
And, I was on the stakeholders committee at the Dom when they built the brand new Dom.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been on the stakeholders committee, longest serving stakeholder in the domiciliary.
Wow.
And the longest serving PTSD facilitator also.
And how many people would you say that y'all have, in your 14 years, that y'all have been able to help?
Man, I tried to figure that out one day because, we have from 3 to 10 people in each group, and they come through on, used to be a 90-day program, now it's a 45-day program. So through that period of time, I didn't keep count of it, but it's a pretty big number.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great to hear.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your background. I kind of gave a big overview, but or brief overview, but tell us a little bit more about you and where you come from.
I come from Snyder, Texas.
Me too.
No way.
Yeah. This is my tiger buddy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. And getting to know Adrian, and we realized we were tiger buddies, and found out that I actually graduated from high school after she did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know whether she's well preserved or I'm just, aging too quickly.
Yeah, so I graduated in 2004 from Snyder High, and
I graduated in 2007 from Snyder High.
Yep.
Wow.
So tell us how that came about. How did you surpass me? And I didn't even see you there in high school.
In 1966, I was a senior at Snyder High. I had more credits than it took to graduate, but I was shy half a semester of English. For years, I blamed it on my English teacher, but I take the blame now. So they wanted me to come back to finish up in summer school, but I had better plans. I was going to win the war in Vietnam. So I lost that deal too.
We'll go into that later.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So in 2007, I found out that Texas had a law, World War II, Korea, Vietnam veterans, they give them a diploma. So I called Snyder High, and they said, yes, that's true, the administration.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, can you mail it to me? And they said, well, we'd rather you come and get it. And I said, okay, when do I do that? And they said, like 7 o'clock on a Friday night. And I said, y'all stay open that late? And they said, no, but that's when we graduate. So I said, I don't think I need to do that. But then visiting with my family and friends, and
Mm-hmm.
they said, yes, you need to go. So where they graduate there in Snyder at the Coliseum, they actually put myself and my entourage, lots of friends and family, down on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they saw we were old.
Don't put them in the stands.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'll take forever.
So I'm thinking, okay, this will be cool, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So the superintendent gets up and says, tonight we graduate in chronological order. Class of 1966 first. So I walked across the stage, the only one that got a standing ovation of the whole graduating class.
Mm-hmm.
And the superintendent reminded me that the kids that night, they wouldn't remember anything about the graduation, but they would remember the old man that walked the stage.
That's awesome.
So, and when I went up on and reached shake his hand. He saluted me because he was a veteran also.
Oh, that's very cool.
And I walked off the stage, and in the stands, of course, there were some more paratroopers, I guess, because he introduced me as a paratrooper and kind of told my story. But so everybody saw an airborne all the way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that last part.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, you are also mentioned in a book, Tiger Bravo's War, that was written by
Rick St. John.
Rick St. John.
Yeah, my company commander.
Company commander. So, tell us a little bit about what that book is about.
It's about our year in Vietnam. We went over the 101st Airborne, the biggest airlift in military history at the time. And so we went over, we had trained in the States and went over as a unit. And in that year that he wrote about, 30 of us were killed, 150 Purple Hearts awarded, and 7 were left at the end of the year to rotate back home.
Wow.
And so that book depicts a lot of the major battles we were in. And yeah, I've talked to high school kids and college kids, about PTSD and about the book. And my favorite story in the book is we were down to about 100 men walking through the jungle, and we walked into a battalion-size bunker complex, which is 1,000 men. So the ambush went off. They killed 4 of us, wounded 10, best I remember. We had to pull back and left the men that were killed. So you don't leave your men on the battlefield. Mm-hmm. So now we're down to less than 90, and we don't know how many of them are left. Probably a bunch because of initial firefight. They got us better than we got them. Mm-hmm. So we're going back to get the bodies, and it's not looking good, but we know we got to go. So about halfway in, the company commander had us fix bayonets. That first bayonet charge since World War II, and so I mean it's pretty hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we're hollering and screaming because you fixed bayonets. That added some more adrenaline to the deal. Mm-hmm. But it shook the Vietnamese up so bad they got out of their bunker complex and started running. And right in the middle of this big complex was an underground hospital.
Oh, wow.
And the nurses' panties and bras were hanging on the clothesline. So we all grabbed a panty and a bra and hung off our bayonets. So we chased them out the other side of the complex, screaming and hollering with panties and bras hanging off our bayonets. So the paradox of war. When I started the story, you were getting serious, and then I finished the story and you're laughing.
Yeah.
It's a journey. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey. Whenever you started the story, because I read the book, I started reading it, and then I'm not a very good reader, so I have to do the audible version. So there is an audible version of the Tiger Bravo's book available because I like to multitask, and that's the part that always stands out to me, and the panties and bra things with the bayonets. So yeah, that one, and the story of you and the charge nurse, I guess.
Oh,
that one. Yeah.
That's after I was wounded the second time. Mm-hmm. They sent me back to recuperate 363 days in the hospital, but I was on an isolation ward because I had open wounds. And so some buddies and I, we snuck out of the hospital that night, or one night, and went to Juarez. And of course, I got cast up to my butt nearly, and I'm on crutches, and I'm still having reconstructive stuff with a hand grenade that blew up my face, and a guy with no legs, a guy with no arm, and other guys with 2 casts. But we got a taxi cab that would take us. We went to the Cave Club. Did you see him? He knows the Cave Club.
If I don't, then I will. I bet they got a good cab deal because it all matched to one person.
Yeah.
So the Cave Club is just a big old room that's got a cave It's probably 30-foot long entrance, so you look
Oh,
like going
Lord.
into a cavern. But we got in there and fight broke out,
Mm-hmm.
and we're like, we need to get out of here. So we all, sneak up, and about a block away, we're getting together. The guy in the wheelchair is missing.
Oh no!
No.
Yeah. So we're sneaking back, and then here you're cussing us. We finally find him. He folded his wheelchair up and drug it under a pickup, and that he's under there hiding.
Oh, man.
Man, wow.
Smart.
Yeah. So we all get back to the hospital, and they go to their separate places. Where I'm sneaking back into the isolation ward,
Mm-hmm.
and man, I should remember her name, but I can't. But she played linebacker for Nebraska, I'm pretty sure. But she picked me up, stripped me naked, and put me back in bed. Said, "Now, Sergeant Tarpley, let's see you get out of here." And of course, I kind of patted her on the butt, and I got back in good graces with her. And a few days later, her Chihuahua puppy or Chihuahua dog had puppies,
Mm-hmm.
and they were registered Chihuahuas, so she wanted to name one after me, Sergeant Tarpley. So I'm sure he's dead and gone by now.
Oh man.
Well,
And you see somebody walk in the room.
Oh no, I didn't.
She's playing. She's peeking.
Oh.
And now I got to clean up my stories.
Oh.
I've heard them all.
oh,
So the guy that I slept beside.
Mm-hmm.
I'll back up the story a little bit. The first night I was in the hospital there at El Paso, they rolled me in, and it had become tradition because we just had big wards. There was no rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and when you wheel somebody new in, everything just stops. It's like the elephant commercial. Everybody just stops and stares at you as they're rolling you in and putting you in your bed. Then you get in your bed and everybody hollers, "He is so effed up." And then the ice is broken and you do good. So I'm beside home plate. And I wish I knew his name. I wish I knew his story. But I didn't. He had no arms, no legs. They gave me his IVs in his forehead.
Oh wow.
wow.
So the first night there, all of the popping going on of the steam heat.
Mm-hmm.
And when I come to, I was under the bed with all my IVs and stuff. And, kind of humiliated that had happened. Well, home plate's the only one that saw me.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Don't worry about it. It's just between us. Nobody else will know." And,
Wow.
and 50 years later, where's home plate?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that seems like a good place to take a break, and we'll take a quick break, get a word in from our sponsor, and then we'll be back here on the Green Bean Podcast with J.R. McNutt and our guest today, Mr. Mike Tarpley.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to the Green Bean Podcast with Adrian Green and
J.R. McNutt.
our guest today,
Mike Tarpley.
Mike Tarpley. And today we are just quick shout out to our sponsor, Yo Mamas, for sponsoring our season. So shout out to them. And also, thank you for letting us come record here in your man cave.
Yeah.
This is really impressive, everything that you have in here. Kind of, for everybody who's listening, kind of describe what we are sitting in here.
We're sitting in a water tank, cement water tank from old ranch that used to be here, and the house is built up next to this water tank. And inside it starts out with a little bit of family, my Vietnam career, my military career, oilfield career, and of course behind me is a lot of the stuff I received for volunteer work. And of all the stuff that's hanging on the walls, volunteer work probably means more than anything. And I'll show your mama makes a heck of a hamburger.
They do.
Yeah, you make such good food.
This is very good. I wish they were open on the weekends. All right. So going back to Tiger Bravo's War, how did you feel whenever you found out that the book was being released, that he was writing the book, and then when it came out?
He contacted all of us that he could, and we shared our stories in the book. So he put all that together along with the facts to make sure everything was correct, and that become a legacy. And I'm real big on legacy, because if we don't create a legacy, 2 generations will be dead and gone.
Wow.
So with legacy, I hope to live a long time. But with that book, the things that's come out of it, the Greatest Generation Foundation read the book, and out of that, they liked so much they're taking 10 of us back to Vietnam on a full documentary trip.
Wow.
We should have already went, but COVID messed that up. But the last I got from them were probably 3 months out.
Oh, cool. So for anybody who doesn't know, what is the Greatest Generation Foundation?
They have been taking men back to the World War II sites, and now they're starting to take Vietnam vets. And I messed up bad a few months ago. They offered us a chance to escort World War II vets back, but I had a lot of other stuff going on, so I turned that down. But I regret that. I mean, what great honor than to escort World War II guy back to his battle sites.
Wow.
and then out of the Tiger Bravo's War, Lexmark Corporation, they read it, and they did an interview with myself. That was actually this Veterans Day. They shared that video with the Department of Defense, and they had myself and author Rick St. John autograph 50 Tiger Bravo Award books, and they give those to the Department of Defense.
Wow!
So I'm pretty proud of that.
That's pretty awesome.
And I feel like I'm in pretty big company because Marcus Luttrell was their veteran honor last year. So
wow!
I thought, I'm in tall cotton.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anything else you'd like for people to know about Tiger Bravo's War?
Rick St. John, the author, you can get it on Amazon. And if enough copies sell, the possibility of a movie.
Well, that'd be very cool. Who would you want to play you?
Look at me.
You want to play yourself?
I mean, I'm good.
You're good. Would you
He's in his
want
prime
somebody?
right now.
Would you want somebody who's already established, or like a new up and comer, like like Tarpley playing
Chris
himself?
Pratt. Chris Pratt. Be great.
Yeah. No, it needs to be a new guy.
New guy,
Up and comer.
up and comer.
Because when he plays me, if he plays my role,
He's gonna be a star.
a star.
Star is born. Oh man.
A Tarpley.
But I gotta see how they're gonna doctor him all up when I ate that hand grenade.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah, man, that'd be
I
something.
bet that was delicious.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, single life. I've been through that too much. But when they say, "Man, you ugly," I said, "Hey, you eat a hand grenade for breakfast. Let an army doctor do the work." I said, I give them a picture of Elvis Presley and told them this is what I look like. And this is their interpretation. I said, so I got an excuse. Why aren't you so ugly?
Yes.
Oh man.
That's great.
Man. So, people that, your family and stuff, who obviously knew what you looked like before you went, and then after you came out of the hospital fixed up, what was their reaction?
The biggest thing I heard from family was not about my appearance, but about my actions.
Oh, yeah?
And a lot of them had told Barbara, my wife, that, I was a different man when I come out.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time they saw me, I was 19 years old. And then I trained and went to Vietnam. And now they see me when I'm 21. And, that's a big transformation. But your war does change it.
Yeah. Wow.
It does.
So, transitioning now. So, what did you do after you discharged from the Army?
Went to the oilfield.
So, how did you get into there? You just applied and they said, come on over.
Yeah, everybody was looking for employees back then.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, and I had probably a bad attitude. You know, I got in the oil field. For 2 years, I just disappeared. No cell phones, no computers.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew where I was at. And so I was roughnecking, making good money. And I never could figure out how making all that money and I get $2,000 in my pocket in the early 70s. That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Pay all of my bills 60, 90 days ahead of time. 30 days later, I'd be broke, be behind on my bills.
Whoa.
But I had a reputation in the oil field of being a good employee, so I never went without a job. I remember I quit with one driller probably 3 different times, and he said, if you quit me this time, you're never coming back. I said, okay, I quit. and I left, and I think I went to Utah that time. But I come back, and he's knocking on my door, and he said, pick you up in the morning. I said, I can't work for you no more, remember? He said, I'll pick you up in the morning.
You jerk.
and I worked for a contractor, Warden Drilling,
Mm-hmm.
and they had 5 different rigs, and I worked pretty much on all the rigs. And I got to be pretty good acquaintance with the drilling superintendent. And he brought me a hard hat out when I went to work on a rig that nobody really knew me. They had TL Legend on the hard hat. So I worked around there for a month or two. And one guy was looking at what the payroll sheet of the books and said Mike Tarpley, and he said, I thought you were TL Legend. and I said, no. He said, well, what's that mean? I said, the living legend. That's what the superintendent called me.
That's awesome.
TL Legend.
Yeah. And
Maybe so.
then I worked my way up, roughnecking, drilling, pushing tools, company man for several different organizations, had my own rigs, went broke, thanks to some Canadians beat me out of $1 million. But,
Wow.
and then I went back to working for oil companies, superintendent, and then I went into independent consultant and finished my career 35 years
Wow.
chasing drilling rigs.
So, deciding to go independent consultant, what made you make that decision?
Money.
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 Did you feel, was it like more freedom for you as well?
Well, like working for other companies, you make good money, but you work half the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you get all the benefits. With a consultant, they pay you for what you work.
Mm-hmm.
They don't pay you. They don't give you benefits. They pay you, so you got to get your own benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And I got married to Barbara. I was dead broke, so I had to figure some way to, because I was getting older.
Mm-hmm.
And so I consulted for 10 years and got debt free and it saved some money.
Cool.
And
That's awesome.
but I worked every day. I might miss 2 or 3 days a year. And there was other consultants, they'd work half the time and they make fun of me for working all the time. I said, look, I'm going to have money a lot quicker than you do. They said, oh, it just takes us twice as long. I said, no, it'll take you 3 times because you're working half the time and the time you're off, you're playing, spending all the money.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to be way ahead of the game.
That's really good. That's really cool.
Yeah. So, do you have any advice for people who are working in the oil field, making big money fast?
My dad told me years ago, take care of your job will take care of you. And I never was without a job anytime I wanted one. And I didn't like where I was getting a paycheck sometimes. But I took care of my job, the job took care of me.
That's good advice.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just got done talking about your reaction to Tiger Bravo's War coming out, and your time in the oil field. So now let's move on into your volunteer work. So at what point made you decide, what year did you decide to start getting involved, that you decided you needed to kind of be more hands-on with
Over
things?
2007.
2007.
Yeah, I retired from the oil field June the 1st, 2006.
Okay.
Because bullet holes and hand grenades caught up with me. And I realized that I was probably a danger to myself and others up on the rig floor.
Wow. And so did it start off with you going to seek help, and then you kind of moving on from
and
there?
I just started out with a DAV.
Okay.
And I realized that they had more potential than they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we started doing fundraisers, and I really can't tell you how it happened, but all of a sudden you were involved, Amanda was involved, and the community was involved, and the community coming to us wanting to help, and it just blossomed. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
I know I had spoken with Ed once, and he had said, I guess, when he first got involved, the organization wasn't in great shape, and that he was just really happy to see how far it had come. He said some people switched around or ended up leaving the organization, and it's kind of turned out for the best. I remember one of my first meetings that I went to go cover for the DAV. Y'all were giving your financial report, and I want to say y'all had said y'all had like maybe $3,000, $4,000 or something like that. I remember thinking, how do I have more money in my savings than the DAV right now? And I don't have that money anymore. But I was like,
she said that.
I was like, whoa. I was like, this isn't good.
Yeah.
And that made me want to help and get more eyes on y'all, and just hearing everything that y'all do. I mean, I feel like it's definitely a no-brainer for where to, if you're looking for money to give, the DAV is a great place to send it over for good people.
Yeah, because we're fortunate that we have quite a bit in our accounts now, but Christmas time we're giving out a lot of it away. And that's the thing with the DAV. You're not supposed to sit on money. You have to turn it. If you don't turn it, National will come in and take it, and they will take care of things the National needs done.
I think that's so great, is that y'all are focused locally. Like y'all are very hands-on locally in, it's almost kind of like how the United Way says, everything raised in Howard County stays in Howard County. But y'all aren't just restricted to Howard County, because y'all just kind of do the area, just whoever needs help, right?
We're assigned that area. Ours goes to Lamesa.
Okay.
And Lamesa used to have their own chapter, but they closed it down because they couldn't do anything. And we go to Colorado City, we go to Sterling City, and we go to Stanton, and anything in between. So, but mainly it's Howard County.
Okay.
That's where we did put a roof on in Lamesa a couple of months ago, but that veteran actually works at the VA.
Oh, okay.
So, and we got a pretty good rule, I think. It's a hands up, not a hands out. And you come to us, and we'll try to help if we think it's a legitimate need. But then you better help yourself.
Yeah.
Don't count on us paying rent next month.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And one of the things that that's a big event for y'all is the DAV dove hunt. So tell us a little bit about that and how y'all kind of came up with that idea.
And it started, this was the 9th year they just had. And it came out of an ideal that I had 12 years ago. I was an honoree at Purple Heart Hunting Eden. It was just getting off the ground. And I came back I said, we could do something like that here. But the Purple Heart Hunt in Eden was big game. And the way it's grown over the years is crazy. But so I talked to Evelyn Holcomb, the church, and her husband Wimp, and told them, I just been to that hunt, and I wish we could do something like that in Howard County, but I just couldn't figure out, how to do it, because taking care of big games, there's a lot to that.
Mm.
And then in church, talking about that, I talked to Wes Hughes, which he's passed now. But he said, man, just do a dove hunt. So Wimp Holcomb come by the house and said, okay, we're doing the dove hunt. And he said, I'm buying 20 shotguns. And I said, Wimp, we're just going to honor 4 guys at a time. And there's a reason behind the 4 guys, because we show each individual love. And you get, a lot of these events have 20, 25 people, and I've heard about people isolating. And we're not going to let them isolate. So anyhow, Wimp says 20 shotguns, and he starts to leave, and he comes back and he says, here, you give me a check for $10,000. He said, we got to have money to get it started. And so we had our first hunt, back to Wimp. He said, I'm giving you the 20 shotguns because I'm old and I'm sick. And so this was early spring.
Mm-hmm.
In our first dove hunt in September, Wimp had passed away.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
But him and Evelyn, they're the reason behind it. And we still have that $10,000 in seed money, because that dove hunt has been so well supported by the community that it's paid its way. And
wow.
From dove hunt to the Wishbone Ranch in Stanton, hosting us every year for the dove hunts, an exclusive ranch, till they started giving them 3 years ago an oryx hunt to go along with the dove hunt.
Wow.
And for the people that doesn't come, we have a Saturday night closing event that we invite the community in. We'll give everybody free food, and we show love on the 4 veterans. We honor them, I think, really, really well. And anybody who wants to be involved in that, pick out a knife, a hatchet, any gift they can think of, and bring. And when we have the 4 veterans up there, you can come and give them a gift, and then tell the community why you're doing that. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of tears shed about the community and the veterans. And I mean, and now they get flags that's flown over the Texas Capitol from Drew Darby, flags flown over the American Capitol from Jody Arrington, the 4 shotguns. They get knives, axe. Of course, I always present them a Tiger Bravo Wars book, and kind of the story behind it. But we always finish the night with the Quilts of Valor. And that's an organization that kind of adopted me that I'm really proud of.
And tell us a little bit about Quilts of Valor.
It's a nationwide organization. A lady started, her son was in Iraq, and she had a dream about him, just surrounded with demons. And he couldn't get out of the pit he was in. And then the dream went on that she wrapped him with a quilt, and the demons went away, and he took the warmth of the quilt. So that started with her making quilts for veterans. And then the organization just blossomed, and they've given over 300,000 quilts of valor.
Wow.
And I got my quilt of valor in the mail, which they don't like to do it that way, but they sent it to me with a real nice note with it. Mm-hmm. And the thing I will never forget about my quilt of valor, my mom was in early stages of dementia. But when I opened that box and I read the letter, I got a little emotional. Mm-hmm. And my mom, she got emotional. She knew there was something really special about that quilt. So from that, the Quilts of Valor organization kind of adopted me. There are ladies out of Tyler and I've been able to present 120 something quilts since then. And Adrian, you've been there and saw.
Mhm.
I mean, the veterans are all laughing and appreciating shotguns and gifts and all that. But when you wrap them with that quilt of valor and read what it's all about, you saw the tears. You see, you see their faces change.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very touching. Getting to be a part of the community fellowship there with the veterans and seeing, like, and as you mentioned, they get all these gifts and tokens of appreciation, and then wrapping up the evening with the Quilt of Valor presentation. It's always very touching.
And the unique part about wrapping it all up is those quilts are made by not just one lady, but by several ladies. So been a lot of hands touch those quilts, and they've left love with them. So when it's over, we ask the community to come up and touch those quilts so that the veterans can take the love from each individual with them, so that they'll never be alone when they got that quilt wrapped around them.
Yeah, powerful stuff.
That is powerful.
Yeah. So I was able to kind of shadow y'all for 1 or 2 years while y'all did the dove hunt, and it blows my mind. Like, I had no idea we had any place like as beautiful as Wishbone Ranch. And
What's that place?
Oh, yeah.
It's a secret.
You wish, Bone.
Yeah, invitation only.
Yeah, it's an invitation only place, and I was fortunate enough to get to be invited because I was the picture taker.
And you saw the camaraderie develop between those vets.
Absolutely, they started off as strangers, and by the end of it, they were brothers.
And one thing, the Purple Heart hunt that I've changed versus all other hunts. When the veterans come in, we were fortunate that Bob Price is good at Smalls Creek Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
And so we bring them in on a Thursday, 4 vets, they're by themselves. And then Friday morning, they come into the DAV. Of course, they get breakfast, and then we go hunt, and then they get lunch, and then we go out to the Price to shoot, trap, and skeet, and then we go out to the Hills place at Knott, and they have a party for us, and then they go back to Moss Creek by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then Friday morning, it all starts all over again and ends with the event Friday night, or Saturday night. But they every night they get to go to Moss Creek by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the demons that I've heard that are left there is just amazing. I was in La Mesa driving through. One of the veterans was a car salesman, mm-hmm. and I was going to stop and check on him, and he wasn't in, but his boss heard me ask for him, and he wanted to know if I was the guy with the dove hunt. I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, I don't know what you did with the man I sent you, but I sure do like the man you sent back.
Oh, wow.
And I've had lots of wives and girlfriends say, man, the man's not the same. They left a lot.
Wow.
And took home a lot.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
a beautiful thing.
Very good to hear. So I know one of the years you've had some of your Tiger Bravo people come in as some of the honorees. So tell us a little bit of what that weekend was like for you to reunite with them.
But I go back to say they've invited me to several reunions.
Mm-hmm.
But I always had an excuse because I felt guilty that 4.5 months into our gig, I got blown up, shot up, and left. So I didn't feel like that I deserved to be with them. But they finally convinced me to come to one in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? All of them have been shot up too.
Well,
small world.
And they didn't finish their cure.
Uh-huh.
So. That made me have confidence. Well, I'm part of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I hosted the Tiger Bravo reunion here in Big Spring,
mm-hmm.
and of course during COVID, so we didn't have that good a turnout. But man, Big Spring community, the guys still talk about what Big Spring did for them. I mean, they turned out big time. But so I convinced them to come to the dove hunt. The 3 that made it in
mm-hmm.
For our reunion, and I brought one each year. And they came from Dallas, from down by Tyler, and one flew all the way from Florida. And I mean, they were just blown away by it. But since I'm a part of the Purple Heart Hunt in Eden, all of those guys are also Purple Heart recipients.
Mm-hmm.
So I got them to come to the Purple Heart Hunt also. And the guy from Florida, he flew in again. He said Texas is, he couldn't believe how Texas is. So.
Oh, very neat.
At least that answered the question.
Yeah. So for anybody who wants to get involved with the DAV, whether it's the dove hunt or just helping the DAV here in the Chapter 47, what kind of information can you offer them?
Anybody that's a veteran is welcome to come. Of course, to become a member, you have to have a disability. But, pretty much anybody that served in the military has something that happened to them. And the DAV will be glad to file your paperwork for you. And if you have a claim on file, you can become a member. And our chapter here has 400 something people on the roll. We have 10 to 12 if we're lucky to show up for a meeting. And we have 3 or 4 of us that do the work. So if you're interested, come to a meeting, let us file your paperwork. If you're a disabled vet, you can get involved, because the important thing with becoming a member and letting us get you involved in, your health care through the VA is numbers.
Mm-hmm.
When the DAV goes to Washington and lobbies,
mm-hmm.
they can say, we have this many number.
Mm-hmm. And
those numbers mean a lot. When the VA gets their budget, so, and a lot of guys say, well, I don't need any health care. Well, you do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a number here at this VA, that means they get bucks for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're not spending money on you, they have to spend on the older gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
So both places you need to be a number.
Yeah.
And you need to be involved. And of course, the dove hunt, we're always looking for people to get involved there. The community, man, it's crazy, because the breakfast, the lunches, the dinners, the people that've been doing that, they don't want to step out.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got people going, well, let me do it. I said, we got people who've been doing it for years, and this year, the Hill family had not.
Mm-hmm.
They had to be gone, but they would not give up their slot, so they hired people. They cooked the day before they had to leave town.
Mm-hmm.
They hired people to be there at their home to host that event, because they did not want to give up their slot.
Wow.
So, and then if you're just in the community, come to the closing event. Bring a knife. Bring a blanket that's engraved. Bring something,
mm-hmm.
or just be there. So when the crystal battle are wrapped around that veteran, you walk by and touch and leave that love.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be awesome. I'd like to be a part of that.
And all you gotta do is just show up.
Just show up.
Right.
Bring your face.
Yeah. Bring face
And your
friend.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you'd like to talk about that you'd like to bring attention to while we have you on here?
Have you ever noticed I do woodwork?
That's right. You do a ton of woodwork.
Yeah.
So maybe we should show him
That's
your
slang or something.
woodwork stuff
Yeah.
before we head out.
Yeah. So that woodwork, it started out that I just framing plaques or something, and from that I started making crosses. There's over 200 crosses hanging in the VA. All the VA people want them in their offices, but legislation came down under an administration back that you couldn't have religious stuff showing. So if your office is one that a veteran comes into, they don't want you to show that you're religious.
Wow.
And so, but you walk through the VA, you'll see the open doors, you'll see crosses hanging there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, a lot of Texas stuff. And one thing I'm really proud of is I frame out license plates.
Mhm.
Whether it be Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, and they're scattered around the country a lot. And then also the ones that are really, really mean a lot to me is the ones that depict the war that someone fought in: World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, to honor them. But then the guys that come through the domiciliary, and I learn their story,
Mhm.
and I make them a license plate on their conflict. But in the back, I write something that's depictable for the story that they've shared with me.
Mhm.
And a lot of tears are shed when I present them and have them read what I write on the back. But they pretty much all of them have said, they might lose a lot of stuff, but that will never be lost.
Wow.
Oh, legacy. Did I ever mention legacy? and our fundraiser, the Bikes Across the Big Spring.
Mhm.
I make stuff there. It's auctioned off. The Purple Heart Hunt take a lot of stuff down there. I make that's been auctioned off.
Mhm.
So, and all of my stuff is numbered. I've made 800 something crosses, 1,800 framed items, and so on each one of them I have my name written and the number of the item. But those license plates, I've given over 450 frame license plates.
Wow.
Wow.
A lot of plates.
It's called a gift of love.
Gift that keeps
And
on
my
giving.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of plates. Sorry, that joke. It's the season.
All right. So, one other thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up is the 9/11 memorial that y'all do at Spring Creek Fellowship every year.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about that.
I guess, we've been doing that 15 years, 16 years. But it started out, I made a yellow ribbon with each man we'd lost in Howard County with his name on it. And I took it to the mall years ago, and I made a big sign that said "Never Forgotten" to go above those yellow ribbons. And the ribbons are made out of wood. They're 3 foot by 2 foot. And I went to the mall manager and I said, "What do you want this memorial I made?" I didn't ask her if I could. I just said, "Where do you want it?" And she was kind of like, So we put it up and beside the mall by Sears back then.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a memorial service. On 9/11, we've had one every year since. The first one, I was worried. And I told the people that are involved in it, I said, okay, if nobody shows up, we're still going to honor the veterans.
Mm-hmm.
We probably had 70, 80 people show up the first year.
Oh, wow.
We've had as many as estimated 450 show up.
Wow.
Of course, the last few years, COVID has knocked that down.
Mm-hmm.
And people question me having it during COVID, but it's 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And they, unlike the government, if 9/11 falls on a holiday, on a weekend, well, we'll postpone it to the next day.
Mm-hmm.
It's 9/11.
Yeah.
Bottom line, 9/11.
Every
That's
year,
awesome.
like clockwork, 9/11.
Yeah.
Well, I guess to wrap up this episode, you said that you get a lot of value from volunteering. What would you say to people who are interested in volunteering or in just considering it? Like, what kind of tell the effect it's been on you and why it's important to do?
The guys that leave the Dom, I tell them they got to get involved, volunteer, and they don't quite understand. But I tell them, it doesn't matter what you do. You find a niche. You go back home, and grandma down the street that you never met before, her grass is tall. You go mow grandma's grass. And before you know it, Grandma will be baking cookies and you'll sit on Grandma's porch eating cookies and drinking milk. And you've made a difference in her life. I said, and when you do that, regardless of what you're volunteering to do, the end result is you'll start feeling guilty because you're getting more out of it than you're getting.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Absolutely. And I don't think that I've told you exactly what the Green Bean Podcast is. So the Green Bean Podcast is stories about growth. So because it doesn't matter where you start from day one, where you end up, where you are now, it's so much further than where you started on day one. And it may not be exactly where you want to be in your life, but it's, definitely a lot further than where you were. And I feel that it's important to celebrate how far you've come, or, the paths that you could have taken, but you didn't. So I feel like those are all things that need to be celebrated, stories of growth. And I think it's important for people to hear that, to hear, that they're, all you got to do is keep going.
Yeah, I'll say my growth, part of what really helped was, I was raised a Christian in a Christian home, and all of my family was Christians. But what my life had dealt me, I didn't feel like I could go to church anymore. But 30 years ago, the guilt of not being in church, I snuck in one Wednesday night, had dirty clothes on from the drilling rigs and sat in the back, and they were talking about King David. And they just started talking about all his stuff. I said, wow, I wasn't as bad as King David. I still got a shot. So, I hadn't lived the life I should have lived, but I've lived a life that I'm trying. And as long as you're trying, and giving back, that's what it's all about.
You take pride in that. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for joining us on the Green Bean Podcast, Mr. Mike Tarpley. It's been a lot of fun getting to talk to you and visit with you here. And I hope we were able to entertain you a little bit, and hope you had
as much as you entertained us.
Yeah, you very much entertained us today, even before this all started.
And I'm glad to know that you depicted my growth.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. All right. Well, thank y'all for listening. You've been listening to the Green Bean Podcast with Adrian Green
and J.R. McNutt.
And our guest today,
Mike Tarpley. Unless you're my mom and you're mad at me, then it's Michael Stephen Tarpley.
All right. We'll catch y'all next time.